Hey guys, welcome to my channel. This is going to be part 2 of my tutorial on how to create a mission in the DCS mission editor, inserting troops and extracting troops. But in this part 2, we are going to blow stuff up. Let's get to it. First thing you got to do is go to the DCS homepage. We're going to go to mission editor. Now again, this is part 2. So I'm going to go to the mission that I had already created for part 1. All right, so here we are in the prior mission that we created in part 1. Now, if you want to see that video, I will put a link up at the top corner. Oh, and I will also include a link at the very end of this video on how to create just a very simple and basic tutorial on how to create a mission to insert troops and extract troops. Now, in this part 2, we are going to keep that same base mission, but we are going to add explosions to it. So the troops are going to be picked up. I'm going to pick them up in a Huey. I'm going to drop them off at a fuel farm. They're going to blow up a tank, and then I'm going to pick them up. All right, so let's get into it. So again, this is the tutorial. This is from part 1. We created the helicopters. We created the troops. These are my Navy SEAL team. And this long blue line is the first waypoint that leads us to the fuel farm. This is where all the action is going to happen. So as you can see, we are going to come in. This is waypoint 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then this LZ is where I'm going to actually pick them up. That's the LZ zone. That's the landing zone where I'm going to extract them. I'm going to drop them off here on top of this tank, and then we're going to extract them right here. All right. So again, that was part 1, the basic mission. Now on this one, we're going to create trigger zones. We're going to create a trigger zone over this fuel tank. And we're going to create a trigger zone right over here just outside this opening. The trigger zone here is going to be where the explosion is going to happen. And this trigger point over here is going to be what sets off that explosion. All right, so let's get into this. Now, the mission editor in DCS is somewhat intimidating. So that's why, for me, it was extremely intimidating when I first started looking into it, and I've just scratched the surface, so I'm no expert at this. But I know enough to figure out how to make things happen on a very simple way of doing it. There are tons of ways you can do this, I'm sure, but I'm going to do this very simple, straightforward. So the first thing we got to do is we got to create 2 zones, one for the bomb, for the explosion, and then one for the triggers. Over here on the left, you go down to this one right here. This one is called Create Trigger Zone. So I'm going to select that, and then let's start by creating the bomb. Let's put it right there. Now, as I zoom out, you can see that this trigger zone is humongous. It's huge. It's this yellow area here. Way too big. So we need to reduce the size of that. But first, let's name this. We're going to call this fuel tank. So fuel tank. And it's important that you name these because we're going to come back when we get into setting the rules for the triggers. We're going to need to know what zones we are talking about. So again, this fuel tank zone is extremely large. We don't need it to be that big. So I want it to be about 75 feet. So let's say it's going to be a radius of about 75 feet. And then let's zoom in. So there is the radius for the tank. That's the explosion. It's going to happen in this area. Now, depending on what size we make that explosion, it could encompass some of the surrounding stuff and blow them up as well, depending on how strong we make that bomb. So at this point, I like that it's going to be 75 feet. So that's the first trigger. Now we've got to come over here and set another trigger right here. So let's do that. Come back down here to this, and we're going to set the center of that trigger right about there. And then again, it's ginormous. So we're going to make it about 50 feet. There's 50 feet. And then let me drag it over a bit. I want it to be right about there. And we're going to call this one bomb trigger. Bomb trigger. All right, so we've got fuel tank trigger or a zone, and we have bomb trigger zone. And then, of course, we have the LZ where we're going to pick them up. All right, now that we have the zones, we need to create things to trigger things or to cause the events to happen. So we come up here to the left. We go to this set rules for trigger. We select that, and then it's going to give you these three windows. This is the event window. In other words, what's going to happen. This condition is what's going to happen to cause that event to happen. And then this third box is the actions. This is what's going to happen once those conditions have been met to start the event. Yeah, I know it sounds confusing, and it's super confusing and intimidating for my right brain thinking. So first things we got to do is we have to create an event. Now, this one event is going to encompass both of those zones. So we're going to say new. It's going to give you these dialog boxes here. The type, we only want it to happen once. The name, we're going to call this bomb trigger. Now, you don't have to label these things, but I like to get in the habit of labeling these. If you don't, and you're going to create more triggers on this map or on this mission, you're going to want to make sure you know which events you're talking about. Because as you build them, it's just going to create more numbers, and it's kind of hard to determine which ones you're talking about or which ones you're working in. So let's create that. Now this event, it says no event because I don't want anything to happen unless these conditions are met. So the first thing is we create the event, or we create a event dialog box. Now the conditions, what conditions are going to happen that's going to trigger the actions to make this event happen? So the first thing we got to do is we want our guys, our troops, Navy SEAL guys, have to enter this trigger zone, this bomb trigger zone, in order for the explosion to happen. So what we need to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to look for, we're going to scroll down till we hit, we want all of group in zone. Right? We want all of our 4 Navy SEAL guys to enter this zone. Once they're in the zone, it's going to trigger the explosion. Now, it's asking us what group of guys are going to be in there. We want our Navy SEAL Team 1. And again, that's why it's important when you create these missions that you try to label everything you can, because as you can see, it shows you all these things. And if you're not sure exactly what the hell they are, it's going to get very confusing. So we're going to say that we want SEAL Team 1, once SEAL Team 1, a group of 4, get in this bomb trigger zone, it's going to explode that bomb. All right. So once that's in there, SEAL Team 1, bomb trigger, we go to new over here in the actions. And now what is the action that we want to happen? We want it to be an explosion. So there's a whole lot of things that can happen, but we want an explosion. So we're going to say explosion. Now it's saying, what do you want me to explode? So we've created those 2 zones, actually 3 zones with the LZ, the landing zone. So as you can see, my zone options are the bomb trigger, which is this one. We don't want to blow that up. We have the fuel tank, which is this one, which is what we want. Or we have the LZ, which is that one. So we can blow any one of those 3 up, but we want to blow up the fuel tank. So there's my trigger. That's what it's going to blow up. Now here's where you adjust the volume of the explosion. Like I was saying, 1,000 is quite a bit. I think you can go all the way to 10,000. I mean, like that would probably be like a nuclear bomb. So I'm going to put 500 pounds, or the volume of 500. Now it should blow this up and probably some things around it. If I would have made it too big, hell, it might even take out our troops. So let's start with 500 and see how that works. So that's pretty much it. At this point, we would save it. Let me go back and make sure that it all saved. Yep, there it is. All right, so let's do a quick overview. So we created this event. This event is blowing up this fuel tank. I'm going to fly these guys in. They're going to land on that fuel tank. They're going to come off the fuel tank. They're going to follow this waypoint. Once they get to this bomb trigger, it's going to blast or blow up this fuel tank, and then they're going to make their way to the LZ, and I'm going to swing by and pick them up. All right, so here's the events. The event is the blowing up the fuel tank. What has to happen for that fuel tank to blow up is all my guys, all those Navy SEAL guys, SEAL Team 1, have to be in the zone of the bomb trigger zone, which is this one. And here it says all of group in zone. So all this group, SEAL Team 1, have to be in there. All right, and then here the action that's going to happen once those 4 guys get into that zone, what's going to happen? Well, this fuel tank is going to blow up because it's in that zone. So what's the action? It's going to be an explosion. The zone that's going to explode is the fuel tank. Altitude, we're going to say 1 because we want it on the ground. And the volume of that explosion, we want it to be 500. All right, that should do it. So let's save this. You can save it or not save it. I always like saving my work. And then we're going to jump off into it and fly the mission. Let's go check it out. All right, guys, so now we are in the Huey. Again, this mission is it's going to be an insertion mission and an extraction. We're going to drop off some SEAL team in a fuel farm. They're going to blow up a building, and then we're going to extract them and bring them home. All right, so let's go do this. I'm in the Huey. I'm flying in VR, as you can see, so my controllers are my hands. I can grab the stick. I can grab the collective. I can touch buttons and all that in here. And I'm in VR, so I can look around. All right, let's get these doors open. Open my doors. There go my doors. I'm nice and cinched in. All right, so let's go get these boys. Quick cover tests. All right, feeling good. Now I know my SEAL team I'm going to pick up is right up over here. So this will be part 2 of a mission editor tutorial I created before, and the part 1 is how to create this mission as far as inserting troops and embarking the troops. They're going to embark onto the aircraft, onto the helicopter, and then I'm going to disembark them, and then I'm going to pick them up again. So that one is part 1. And that did not have the explosions. This is part 2. This one's going to have the explosion. Same base mission, except this one I've added the explosion because I had someone ask for an explosion. So here we're going to do it. Alright, we're going to come down nice and easy. Here's my boys. Alright, so we're going to hit the comms menu. We're going to go to parent menu. We're going to go to airborne troops, and then we want them to embark. And embark. And this is SEAL Team 1. So that's these guys here in front of me. So it says you can start embarking, and now they're moving out, coming on to get on board. And then I'm going to get an on board message. We're good to go. Alright, so now we're going to make our way over to the fuel farm and drop them off. Now this is going to be in a combat posture, so we're going to fly in low and fast. This is a very simple setup, simple mission to create. Very simple. And actually it's in part 1 and 2, so I think that'll be a little bit easier. Sometimes, you just don't want to go into all the nitty-gritty and get in the weeds of the whole thing. So part 1 is very basic. It'll show you how to insert troops and then how to pick them up. And then in the part 2, which is this part, it'll have the explosion added. So here's the fuel farm. We're going to do a quick pass. Make sure there's no bad guys. Looks pretty clean to me. Now we're going to land on that fuel tank like we did in part 1. Sweeping a little bit too wide. Let's see. Here we go. So this fuel tank on the right is my target. I'm going to work my way down on it. Now it's a fuel tank, so I am going to land really soft on it. Soft as I can. And I'm going to avoid that vent. Now you can put these things down anywhere you want, as you've seen in part 1. Easy. There it is. Alright, so now these guys are going to disembark. So we're going to go to comms menu, airborne troops, disembark, SEAL Team 1. There they are in front. I'm going to get the hell out of here because they're going to put charges on this tank, and I don't want to be anywhere near that. Alright, so they're going to go off and do their thing. I'm going to do a quick flyover, get out of the way. Now when they hit their trigger for this explosion, it's going to set off the charge. And that trigger, as you remember, is set up just outside the opening of that wall. So we're gonna hang over here so we can observe it. There goes that SEAL team. They're making their way to that next waypoint. Just about to come through the open gate there. Here we go. Stand by for an explosion. Standing by. And stand by to push that button. Boom! And there's your explosion. Hell yeah, it's nice when it works. Alright, so they're going to take cover. And then they're going to make their way to the extraction point, and I'm going to swing around and pick them up over there. Oh yeah, they blew the hell out of that tank. Oh, they even got some extra stuff. So as far as these explosions go, you can build them as big as you want. You can include several buildings. There's a lot you can do in that mission editor, man. It's really complex. It's intimidating for sure, that mission editor, but don't let it intimidate you. Take baby steps like I'm doing. And you know, you'll be able to create some pretty amazing missions. Alright, there's that smoke. They're probably waiting on me. Let's go get those boys, get them home. And that's how you do an explosion. That was, again, a troop insertion with an explosion with an extraction. Let's make sure that I don't crash on the way out of here. Alright, boys, I need to get over on the other side of you. I'm going to do that. Come on down, baby. Come on down. Come on down. There we go. Brakes. I love flying this Huey, man. Down, baby. And we're down. Alright. We'll get the comms menu. Airborne troops. We want them to embark. And we want SEAL Team 1. Good job, boys. Come on, get on board. He blew the hell out of that tank. Alright, all on board. Let's get on out of here. Let's do a quick pass. Take a look at the damage. Oh yeah, they tore that up. Tore it up, they did. Alright, let's get them home. Nice job, fellas. And that's how you do a mission with an explosion. So again, if you liked the video, if you felt like you learned a little bit out of it, like, share, subscribe. There's a link down there if you'd like to buy me a cup of coffee. All those donations and subscribers and people who joined my YouTube page, all that funds go to support the page. I do this, you know, it's my side hustle. I have a real job. So I appreciate it, man. And again, if you guys have comments, man, leave them in there. I always like engaging with you guys. I guess I need to focus. Here we are. That's their home base right there. Alright, make sure I don't blow this on the landing. You gotta stay focused. Oh yeah, they blew the hell out of that tank for me. Alright, come on down, baby. I'll land right in here somewhere. Watch out for the VRS, it's a booger. I'm gonna sneak up on you. Alright, I do not like descending straight down from a hover. Man, I do not like that at all. But sometimes you gotta do it. You gotta be really careful. And down.